You're live.
All right. Let me change the view here. Nope, that wasn't it. Here we go. Something's going on, Todd. I don't see myself.
I see you.
You see me?
That's
Something's
just-
going on, Todd. I don't see myself.
No, that's user error.
I see you.
Hang on, you're good.
You see
You're
me?
good.
Something's going on.
I don't see you now. I saw you before.
This is so great. Can you hear me though?
Listen, you're good. You're good. The everything's cool, and you're both on the screen. There's no speaker view. So
I don't see her, but I can go without seeing her. If that's the case.
Well, on your screen, it should be top right. It'll say view. Click gallery view or gallery, and you'll have both people on.
For me or for her?
For
you.
Her,
right?
For you. No, for you. If you're on a phone, you should be able to see, or you can slide your finger. If you have more than one person on, you can slide your finger left to right.
Says Zoom. Wait a minute. What am I doing?
Left to right. Left to right. Left to right. Try left to right.
Okay.
So I can see myself now.
I can see you now. Yes.
I can't believe we're live on Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to real life. This was what goes on.
I know.
I'm going to go change the title so everybody in the audience chill out. I'm going to change it now. Okay. Have a good show. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start this officially. Welcome to Authenticity on Zoology Network. Theresa LePre Rivera. Welcome.
Thank you.
I am so excited to talk to you. I've been following you for years. And I check in, because the algorithms I don't always see your feed. And so if I want to see certain people, I got to, go over and see what they're doing, check in with your light. And one of the things that I love about you is that you're true to yourself. And that's what authenticity is about, is everyone being authentic to themselves, because you can't hide no more.
Absolutely.
We can see, and that's what I love about you, is that you're not afraid to speak your truth, because we have perspectives from 8 billion people.
Absolutely.
And 8 billion realities. And to me, they're all just as important, and that they're all assisting in their own unique way. They all are working together. That's how it works. This machine, this ascension, whatever we want to call it, unity consciousness, it needs every moving piece, every individual on this planet to make this work. And that's what unity consciousness means to me. And so I want to hand it over to you. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are and what I'm speaking about when I say you speak your truth.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on and to chat with you. It's actually quite relaxing because the roles are reversed now. Usually I'm talking about a topic, and when I'm talking about a topic, I have to be very neutral, and I have to be authentic, and I have to be straightforward with that. And I believe that we all are part of this enigma. I'm going to call it an enigma because we are putting it together, and we are coming out from a lot of things that have caused us to transform. Now, we could go back and we could rewind, but I think that it's always better to go forward, because all of us have made our silly errors, and we've had to go through things that bring us into authenticity. So along my path, I find that searching for a truth that might not be popular, but is a part of the ascension process is necessary, because there are things that are happening that people need to talk about as they are coming into grace. And one of the misservices is that people sometimes become pigeonholed in their own mind's eye because they can't see the broader picture. As you said, unity consciousness, working together, contributed is all very important. And I don't think that people want to hear that, because what happens is that I believe sometimes fear sets in, because now you have to step into the unknown and you have to say, hey, wait a minute. This is the unknown, and I am part of this unity consciousness, this awareness, this oneness, but my role is very specific. Mm-hmm. And I speak from authenticity, because there's a difference between transforming from life's trials and tribulations than sitting on an easy chair and speaking always from a perception that someone can't relate to. So I like to take an approach where we relate to the things that are going on, right? Because that's what we're living in, and we are part of that. Because if you are bringing in new earth, you have to deconstruct and reconstruct. And there are people that are part of the light community that deconstruct, because they are the voices that go and speak about things that aren't popular, that are tender to the soul, that cause people to have to stop and think. But also we rely on those that reconstruct as well, because deconstruction and reconstruction has a role, because we all know that. So it's like very interesting to me, because like I just roll with the flow, and I use my intuition and my feeling, and I had to learn how to do that. And I had to like stand up for things, and I wasn't always right. And, you know, I learned from that. But one thing that was always authentic, the push for the truth, the real truth, the truth of human beings, the divine human beings, to our origins, you know, what exists outside, but what affects this planet. And when you do things like that, and you are a light worker, let's say you're a person who is part of an evolution process, I don't like to label that, because I think that people get stuck on that. But what happens is you do see things outside of the box, and then you flow with nature, and like there's a very holy side to you that maybe people don't see, because you're doing what you're doing on social media, but they're not part of your personal life. You know what I mean? So that's how I do it. And, you know, I'm very grateful for every experience, even the ones that kicked my butt, you know, but I am pro humanity, and I'm pro brotherhood and sisterhood. And I understand that we have our differences, but I'm not about drama, and I'm not about getting into things that have no purpose, because I feel that that was part of many chapters of go when we were, you know, coming out of, you know, the embryo, and we were birthing, because we had to, and life was tough, you know, like we've all been through some type of a hell that leads us to step into our higher self. Now, many people call it different names. Many people, you know, want to be part of the higher galactical concept of it, but we're all part of that, you know, because while we are doing our public service, you know, I'm also into anti-aging. I'm also into extending life. I experiment with, you know, my health, and like I do these things that I feel that are part of our divine DNA. You know, I do believe in extraterrestrial life form, but I don't believe it to the point where I am down on the human divine, because when we go back and we search, we're phenomenal. Our DNA can be phenomenal, because we are very resilient. So I think that a lot of times people misunderstand other people, and the purpose is to let's start with an understanding, because we're not going to please everybody. People are not going to like everything we say, but the soul thing is for me, like the good old fashioned soul walk, that talk that's most forgotten. And yes, I invite the other things, and because I have a phenomenal consciousness, and if I'm in sacred grace, you're feeling that. But those things, I don't like, I'm very humble about those things, you know what I mean? And I'm very like those things are very sacred and private to me, because like when I'm on air, it's a different thing, and I walk amongst the people, and I understand the souls of the people, and to be holy and graceful is because I understand what it is to walk through hell as well and gain respect of Hades. So I think that that's my mission, because my goal is that I understand there's an elite structure that has a hold on our people, and our people are coming forth in numbers, and they're using their tools now, like you say, we're part of it to assist. But I think we have to come together in a light working community, because I feel it's segregated. So for me too, like I've stepped away from that. I don't want to be part of that unless we're saying, you know what, it's not yesteryear. And any tool that we have, let's work together, because we are responsible. And I know that people don't like that, because they feel that, that's not contributing to New Earth. But I say, in order to create a new Earth, we have to now use our tools together to build it, because we're not doing a great job if we can't face the things that keep us in bondage. You hear what I'm saying, sister? You know what I mean?
Sure. Let me ask you something, Theresa, your point of perspective. Do you have an understanding that our energy goes where our thoughts go?
Absolutely.
And so when let's say that we focus on events that are out in the world that we know are fear-based.
Yes.
We add energy to that, it fuels that. Where we feed grows. And from my perspective, I'm only speaking for myself. And when I said that this is a unity consciousness and that every single person on this planet has a role, is they do.
Absolutely.
And your voice and someone else's voice is just as important. Your role for whatever your mission is part of it. Absolutely. It's very much part of the light worker community, because there's people who aren't aware of things that perhaps you and I are aware of in the world and why it's going on. And so there's people that are still figuring things out.
Absolutely.
And so it's just as important to have a conspiracy movement. I remember years ago, 15 years ago, when I was in conspiracy, I give it gratitude, because it was through those venues that I woke up, if you want to use the word wake up. But I learned information through those platforms. And so I give that very much gratitude, and I don't discount any of it, because there's people out there who at this moment are coming into certain information that they didn't realize.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so some people get stuck in that. But that's okay, because that is their role. I find it by now, here we are in 2023. Some of us are in the embodiment stage. Some of us are just waking up to who we are, that we are a light body, that we're intelligent beings, that we are more than we were told. There's different levels going on right now. And that's why I said it's important that, like, I take a more neutral role, because I believe that it's this and that, it's both, that we need all of it. But the neutrality role may be my mission, but it doesn't have to be your mission to be neutral about certain world events. My focus right now is bringing my light to the world in whatever code that comes through, and using this platform so that they can hear people speak their perspective and see what resonates with them, because not everybody resonates with everyone.
Oh,
and that's okay.
So let me tell you how I handle those kind of situations, because I think what happens is that people focus on one thing. I'm multiverse. So as I am bringing up neutralization for world events, right? I'm also teaching from experience, right? I don't even want to use the word teaching, because I really think it's an exchange. We're all learning, you know? We all are a process of evolutions. I'm also very balanced, and I'm very loving, and I'm very kind. And when I deal on a public platform, I could talk about any situation and be neutral about it. And I could talk matter of factly about it and not make my personal views get in the way of being fair for all areas, you know? And that's very difficult to do, because it's a balance of talking to nations in a tone where we're actually saying we are dealing with this because we are people. We are people of the light. We are people that want justice. We are people that want to be able to utilize all that we are as we are ascending into our consciousness, into our soul's journey.
Yeah.
What happens is that what happens is that because a platform is so multiverse, you have to be able to, I don't know, it's like interweaving, like when people they weave like a fabric, right? And
Sure.
and you're doing different stitches along the way, but that pattern comes out absolutely spectacular. So I respect everyone who is contributing in their own way, because if I am totally honest with you, if there is a situation that I am tackling and I know it can be draining, but it must be done, right? I am also a divine being that after that, I also seek solace. And I also go to my brothers and sisters that, you know, we exchange with. So I think that people have this misunderstanding sometimes because they only see things one way. But when you're able to see it all way, you have this gratitude and this understanding that most people miss because they really don't know. So they can't feel that intense energy.
But don't you feel like that comes with mastery? This training and evolution that we're going through, the more I embody this light, the more that I zoom out and expand my own consciousness, the more I realize that it is all encompassed and it's from source.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. That's like the case, because once you understand that, that's very encompassing. And that's why you don't take, that's why then, you know, I think that's why that respect comes in and that integrity comes in. And it's like, I might have a difference with you about the way we go about things because our roles are different, but I have your back and I support you no matter what, because we are part of that. And we can't be the same thing if we're creating something that is bringing in this neutrality where people can be who they are, where they can extend. So I think, you know, people don't realize how multi-diverse that you can become, because as you said, people are learning and doing things on different levels. And I have no qualm with that. My thing is authenticity. I have a qualm with, how can I put it? deliberate malpractice. You know what I mean? Can you understand that? I have a qualm with that, because then I feel like, okay, that's a trickery, and there's no need for that, because there's so much going on that let's push that to the side. Other than that, I could roll in any area and I can understand on any level. And it
So would
does.
you say that you have a voice for those who can't, who don't? Do you speak for those who can't speak for themselves?
That's part of it. Absolutely. Absolutely, I do.
That's an important role.
Absolutely, I do. I absolutely do, and I make no qualms about that. And I also speak for myself, you know, because I believe that your soul authenticity, you know, is something that you shouldn't hide. You know, it's like you could be a little bit country and I could be a little bit rock and roll, that type of a thing, you know. And as we're doing that, we're still breaking bread, and we still have a sisterhood, and we're still laughing, and we're still, you know, going through, and I'm our everyday life and going, huh, can you believe that this has happened as I'm working through this energy and doing that? I believe in all that, you know, and I think that people get a little sidetracked because you want to reach out and believe, but you have to really go in to do that. And I never idolize anybody, and I don't want to ever be idolized, because I believe that we have this incredible humaneness about us when we are at our best, and there's no need for that, because I honor you for who you are, and I got you, you know. So I roll like that, and it wasn't like always like that, because I was a little hard-headed, and you know, I'll call it out, you know, sometimes, like, and I look back and I'm like, that was also the process, because that was also like putting me to the test. Can you say you're sorry and mean it? Can you really extend an olive branch? Can you talk about unconditional love? And then when you're faced with having to exercise,
talk.
do it. You know,
To walk the talk.
do you know this is,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to say
a
this
delay
before I hand it over to you, what I've learned, you know, everybody says or expresses unconditional love, and it's unconditional until, you know, it's no more likable to the person, or you do that one thing wrong, right? Or you make that misstep, or you're not learning on the same level. But that real soul love, that love that's a little messy, you know, and you're willing to work through that with any aspect, whether it's your partner, whether it's your role in society, your friends. That's really unconditional love. You know what I'm saying? That's that's what I've learned.
Isn't that the mastery part of it, though, for all of us? That as we are moving forward, we're the example of what's possible with ascension. What's possible is unconditionally loving people without what's the word I was looking for? Expectations. Like all of a sudden, like you just said, if I do something you didn't like, does that change the course of our friendship or our sisterhood?
Yes.
And I feel that's what we're all going through. And I want to take it back to when we first started the show. You were talking about how in these communities we're divided. We're like little cliques, like back in high school.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And I told this to Aurora Luna on my show. I said, we're going to be in Sedona together. There's many things happening. For whatever reason, it's divinely planned, I'm sure, and it's for our spiritual growth. But we're at this point now that we're growing enough that you and I are having this conversation, and sometimes it's just acknowledging and saying it out loud, that having these cliques moving forward may not serve us, and that together we can do more.
Absolutely.
Profound movements if we work together.
Do you realize what we could do if we really work together and we put aside the nonsense? So let me tell you a little bit about me personally.
Sure.
And I have about through social media. And I always say this, and I say this on my show numerous times. I was spiritual and doing my thing. And I stepped in the spiritual community from Todd Medina. And that was a learning tool for me. And deeply, it allowed me to really weed things out. And I'm always, and one thing I always had a respect for Todd, even when we have differences, because him and I started out like a brother and sister. You know what I mean? It's like that. You know, you roll your way, I roll my way. This is about what it is, you know, and that respect always remains, even if you have things that are, you know, different. We have different roles. But when I saw like some of the things that went on behind the scenes of many different platforms, and I could understand how people easily get sucked in and how it becomes like a competition for your gifts and your tool. I'm not impressed by that.
Right.
And I think that it takes away, because when you got it, you got it. And I respect that. And I say that this, you know, sometimes after healing and after, you know, look, sometimes there's mistrust, sometimes we get caught up, whatever it is, if it becomes something that takes away from the sole purpose, then we are equally responsible for our people being separated. And I think that's a disservice to us, because we are better together. And I told you, unconditional love is not just when it's conditional to the person. It's like, can we rock and roll and get through it? Because sometimes it's a little, you know what, hellfire. And sometimes things are not always going to be agreeable, but there's always a solution. So I think I from my own standard, like, I welcome all, and I respect all, but I'm not tied up in that game, because look what it does. Nobody likes each other. Then, you know, everybody's distrustful.
But isn't that part of the process? If you look back at the times that you said that you disconnected from Todd and Sology at that time, I don't know when that was exactly, or the story behind that, or nor do I need to know that. But what I'm saying is that we were all in that process of growing. So we have to move on from that and acknowledge that we were all in the ascension process, all the things that we go through. It doesn't leave anything out when it comes to these communities.
No, and this is not only a spiritual community. This is in all communities in all walks of life.
Absolutely.
We touch base on something that we're both familiar with, but I'm in, you know, I do work on many different levels, and these things are embedded in the fabric of what we are mastering, learning from, saying, hey, there's a better way. And look, you know, why don't you ponder this? Because you can never tell anybody what to do. But like, I guess the best therapeutic remedy, or the best soul remedy, or the best sacred remedy is when a few people are kicking it, and like, you know, it's suggestions. Look, these are some solutions, and then let's weed it out and what works best. I think that's the rewarding, you know, kind of a thing that happens. You know, we bring up these things because we're not in yesteryear. What we are saying is that those things are so irrelevant now with the ascension process, and we are speaking about it because we feel you, we get you, but we are also sharing this knowledge, sharing this gift, and being on a platform that is pushing for the ascension process of our people globally to live in harmony. It's like an eco chain, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Everybody has their part and their role, but everybody is thriving. So, you know, I say, don't judge people. Don't listen to what people say. If somebody don't like somebody, you never know. You know, get to know somebody. Like, you know, what is it that you really want? Like, don't let people suck your energy, you know, have forgiveness in your heart, but also have boundaries. Say, hey, look, I was wrong, but you can't only put it on me. You know, look at yourself. After there's a genuine apology, let all that other stuff go, because then people do that. Like, you know, they'll take your apology and then like they'll get mad, like, or they'll not. That's got to all go. That's part of the old wave. We're in a new wave now. You know what I mean? But these tools are very useful because they're good for discussion, because it helps people, even though people think that it's got to be one way. It's not one way. The purity of heart is a commonality. Going through Hades is an understanding, you know, coming out of it respectful, where Hades respects you, is mastering who you are, because you get it now. You understand that soul walk. I understand the true soul walk. And that's why I do things in a way that I don't want to be part of. I want to be pro humanity, pro human divine, pro extending life, because look, after there's not enough time in the time span that is allowed. So let's extend it. Let's play with the DNA. I do all those things. And that's the great part of it. But I might not just share that a lot on the camera, because how many things could I tackle? Because the main thing is mental health. How people are suffering. They're suffering. People, and even though people are extended and they're going through love, or the process of love and getting there are real major things that are going on, even with people who are very holy in their hearts and soul, because it's just happening. And I think when we see that and we can understand that and we could break bread and still realize that we're strong and we're resilient as we are growing in love and understanding, I think that's beautiful. I think that's part of it. That's why there's so many different, you know, parts of a mosaic. You know, can you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I feel like we agree on that together. We're on the same page when it comes to that. How did this eclipse quarter affect you? Did anything come up for you that you may have had aha moments or thought, oh, thank you, I needed to see that?
All the time things come up.
Sure.
All the time things come up for me. Aha moments, you know, gratitude, things that I think this eclipse for me, it was more like surrender into like the unknown, the abyss. And when I say that, I don't mean like just go blindly. I mean like it's more and more in divine guidance. Like when situations happen and like I don't have control over them, I'm now, it's more of a release, more to let go. I find that as my voice is growing, I am less attached to anything, or, you know, it's just wherever it leads in all parts of life. I'm pretty grounded, you know. Healing process is for me continuously, because we're always healing for something, but it's not, you know, it's at the point where you are in understanding of healing and yet you still driving, have a driving force for the divine in you. So it's you know, it's like that. Sometimes it's emotional. It depends, but I have to be honest with you. I'm pretty like rock steady, you know, as far as handling situations and challenges. And there are a lot, but I don't fall apart. And
Yeah.
that's part of mastering, because I could remember, you know, those very first days, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I just roll at the moment, because I think that we could change energy. I think that, you know, history and, you know, biblical events that people are you know, swaying towards, I feel we have the power and the energy to rewrite that. And that's why the advocating for humanity is through my word, through my voice, because I really do believe in us and I really do love our kind very much. And it takes a lot to know that you are going into that territory where it's going to unnerve people, you know, and and you do it in a way with style and grace, because even though I tackle hard issues, I have my gift from the divine is that I could do it with style and I could do it tempo. It's very rarely that I go over.
Theresa, what are you what topics are you bringing into awareness right now on your show?
Well, the last couple of videos that I do, my videos are always non-scripted, and they always come from the divine. One of the hot topics is the Middle East and how it affects humanity, and really, it's a loop. You know, if we tear it apart, you know, all the little fragments, because everyone has an opinion, and you're not going to be able to to unravel this, but the goal is that this is what we advocate for through our awareness, because we see how humanity can stand up for things but go against one another for whatever the situation is. And I don't want to get deep into that because that's another topic altogether. Sure. But if we could take that, see how the people are rising up, and really turn it around through the awareness and use the energy to deconstruct the elite plans, that's when our divinity starts to rise up. But we're cutting through so many things, and there's so much happening that we are actually now showing ways to give stability, to get through this, to say some things are matter of fact, and you can have 100 perceptions on things, but if you take it to the basis, we see what's happening, and we are children of the earth, leaders of the earth, coexisters, co-creators of the earth. And our role as we are creating and saying, hey, the love and the neutrality and all that doesn't exist, is to help our people get through their fear, through their uncertainty, through their challenges, as they are holding their ground, as they are extending in their awareness. These are very real topics that are happening, and that's where I'm at this point. But I also, you know, speak of the goodness and, you know, the rewards of it. So there's a duality there. It's very multi-diverse. And then, you know, sometimes I kick it about, you know, what I believe about the Anunnaki, and what I believe about our true origins. I'm very into a lot of things, but
well, we are multidimensional.
Yeah, man, we really are, you know.
We are. So that's why you can tap into all those subjects. But if, you know, I love that about you. I love it that if I want to get some of that, I go check out your videos, you know, or that you're out there doing Theresa. I love that about you. Like I said at the top of the hour, it's just as important to me. And I do feel humanity is well aware and on its way to taking their power back.
Yes.
I see a lot of changes around me in my personal circles outside of my home. When I go out, I really see them, what they're talking about. I hear them a lot more than we did 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because it's the everyday folk that are questioning and standing up and, you know, searching for this, and that motivation alone is very inspiring. You know, we do a lot more together than we do alone. And, you know, I believe that we will exceed, and we can get through this multi-dimensional map that we are going through, and we could do it with love, style, and grace, and we could still, you know, extend olive branches, and we could be fair, and you don't have to like everything, and, you know, you stand your ground, but you do it in a way that is not offensive, and you know that we are up against a lot, but we're doing great because there's so many fantastic people out there that inspire me. Like their work is so inspiring. I'm like, yes, this is what it's about. I can't mention it all, and I'm very bad with names, but
Sure.
those things inspire me. Those things give me energy to
For
continue.
example, do you have an example of what inspires you?
I'm inspired by people who are game changers. Game changers, meaning that they understand what life can do to people, and they play a role with uplifting, and they're very humble, and they have this trueness about them that when they assist, it's from their soul. I'm inspired by people who overcome abuses and tragic situations, and they have the courage, whether it's after 1 month, 5 months, 5 years, 20 years, to stand up and go out on their own and tell their story from a perspective that gives hope to others. I'm inspired by people who get up every day, and under the circumstances, they know that there is something better and they search for it, even though that there are many things that could be going wrong. They are in this energy that pushes them forward, and it's not always, that people think it's just one thing. It's many things. And I think because sometimes, people again don't know a person's soul, they could only assume that they overlook these things. I'm inspired by a lot of things. I'm inspired by the badass that doesn't that cusses, and you know what I mean, like all those kind of things. I can't, it's a little bit country, it's a little bit rock and roll. A lot of things inspire me to do better, to understand I am no better than anybody else, to understand that anything could happen to anyone, even in divine timing, and how do we handle it? Those are the things that.
Well, definitely one of the things I've learned is that I know nothing and know everything at the same time, because every day is a teaching moment.
Sure is.
For my growth. Everybody that we encounter or speak to is there to reflect back to us.
Absolutely. And if you do it with a style and grace and a little genuineness, and you just let things flow, we could accomplish so much more, and the day goes by easier. And then there's frustrating days, and people who say, like that they're always in love. Yes, you can always be in a tempo, but you do have frustrating days, you know what I mean? And then there's days that are joyous, and then there's days that you might be cussing more than anything ever, And I think that, that's the realness of the essence of who we are, and we could still be holy and sacred, and that doesn't have to come into question. Like I said, I never have a problem with that because I have some mystical, magical stories. I only have a problem with deliberate malpractice, because this is so real inside of you that there's something in your senses that go off, and you could detect that, and that's like a no-fly zone for me. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, or
well,
it's just
I think
not
it
happening.
was
That's the only thing. That's my human quirk. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I wanted to say, I think it was part of our programming that we were
I can't hear
deprogramming.
you.
You can't hear me? Let me look at Facebook Messenger if anybody can hear me.
I can hear you now.
You can? Okay.
Did I?
What I was trying to say is that a lot of this that a lot of us went through is deprogramming of the programs. And so we thought we had to dress a certain way, we had to look a certain way, and that we had to be butterflies and rainbows all the time, or we weren't good people and we weren't light workers. If we didn't do whatever, we had an image or thought in our mind of what that looked like. And I think some of that came from religious backgrounds, our parents. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you beautifully.
Okay. So I believe that all of that we were letting go of, because in the early days, I thought I had to dress a certain way.
Did
And
you?
every time, yeah, I thought I was going to have to wear like skirts and, like, I don't know. I went through all kinds of phases that were all designed for myself.
Absolutely. I understand that.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. And
I was
so, yeah,
I was
go
always
ahead.
Oh, I'm laughing because it's different because you thought that, and I'm the rebel. I'm not accepting nothing, So it's like, it's like, yeah.
But that phase didn't last very long, where I thought perhaps I had to change what I wore. And I'm talking about like the hippie clothes, more tie-dye, new age, like not there's anything wrong with those looks. But I thought I had to have a certain persona.
Yeah, I
Right.
get
And
it.
now I understand that that was a sub-level game, that those things I was also unraveling. I was
Absolutely.
letting go of all this stuff so that we could get to where we are now.
Isn't it a great thing?
It is, but you
And
look back and you can
back,
understand what people are.
absolutely. And then when you, like you say, when you look back and you think of that and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. Absolutely. Because being a rebel gets you in trouble too, because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's very real because we're very different. Although we have a commonality, the human race, our blueprint is very different because we are individuals. We have these individualities that, once they're free, you could actually really like somebody and want to hang out with them. And like, you get rid of all these stereotypes and,
Yeah.
I don't follow the crowd. That's one thing that's in my DNA. I never did, I don't know why I never did. And I don't know. And I never judge people by what other people say. I always, it's a clean kind of a slate. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I don't, I don't get into conversations of gossip, that I left behind years ago because we all hint a little bit. I'm not saying like I don't hint with my family and stuff like that, but it's very interesting, just the dynamics, like just how we step away from things and, what leads us to be who we are and what we do.
Well, and it's brought me, you can't teach what you haven't went through.
Exactly.
And it's brought me a better understanding, an understanding, awareness, and my perspective. And now when I'm having conversations with people, if where they are in their phase of ascension, where they are on their level of awareness, and then there's no judgment in it because you see those moments in yourself when you were there at one time. And so I feel like some of us who've been doing this a little longer than others, that's where the example comes from, and the unconditional love or wanting to unite all the other groups is because we understand that this was all just part of the process.
Part of the process. A process, so like, and I do understand where you're coming from and I respect that, but I also take another position with that because I do believe that the process is rolling, right? The process is happening on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And to be in light consciousness, to be a light worker, to be a person that, takes on the role of the many stages that are before us. I think that the conversations also have to take place about where humanity is heading, because whatever happens as above as below, the yin and the yang does affect us. And our kind has come so far, so far through the years and through all the trials and tribulations. We have proven to be resilient. We have proven that we have compassion, we can have integrity, and we know how to weed out things. But I think that, it would be a disservice to us if we don't acknowledge there are other things that are going on, that if we don't unite, however that happens and whatever solutions we put in place, that it could impede us, because that is one of the things that is being challenged for the human race to have that right, because we are brilliant people and we are beautiful and we can move mountains, and to have the persecution that's going on without raising our voice and say, hey, it's hard as hell, but I could only send love, let's say, or others are, or you contribute in so many different ways, right? An individual. But if we don't like speak about it, things do, there are things that would not like us to prevail. So I guess it's a call for unity, that people do come together, put aside your differences, or work it out, or understand that everybody's at a different level, and that's why you're teaching and you're learning and you're all exchanging, and really to unite in that, to let it implode, right? Let this light implode, let this love implode. Take a person's hand. You're making a human chain now, right? Because I'm taking Anna's hand, Anna's taking Todd's hand, Todd's taking Morgan's hand, Morgan's taking whoever's hand. And I'm just using that as an example, because that's just what we strive for. And in between, there's always somebody who has a tighter grip, so the human condition could continue on, because we have a lot to go, and we haven't even, I want my 1,000 years. We always joke about that,
Sure.
want my years, because that's promised off the top. Anti-aging is a given. I cure myself, all those things are real, because
Sure.
it's not things that, oh, well, we strive to get there. No, we're practicing it through our mind, through our DNA. We're changing those things. We can attest to those things.
Yeah.
So that's why I say balance is very is necessary at this point, because you can't speak love and then hold a grudge. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
Well, I know, like in this energy, every word, thought, and deed is reflected back to me. So if it's not in alignment with unity, it shows me immediately.
Absolutely. Isn't that the cool thing, though, about this awareness?
Why it teaches you.
Boom, it's like, woo, I got that.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring up how important all of us, again, are in the different roles. And I want to use like a contractor who is building a house, and we're building a house here, and we can't do it without the electrician, the plumber, the guy who framed, the guy who does the roof. They are all needed for this house to be built, and they all have different gifts. And that's what I mean about you or I, is that we may not be talking about the same things. We may not be highlighting or embodying the same. It's whatever we were brought for this mission to bring forth. And that's what is important to me, that everybody hears.
I love that. I think that's beautiful, because it's true. It really is true. That's how it really does work. It works like that. And I believe more and more people are doing that. And that's the cool thing.
It's very cool.
Very cool. It's very uplifting too. And to be able to be multiverse and to talk about this, like we covered a lot of things with some differences, but with the same goal. And we did it very cool, with grace and with love, and like, hey, I got you. And that's the whole point of this all. I got you, I get it. And I don't think that I think that once, like you said, more and more people are getting it, and once they start really getting it, we take back our earth, the full earth, because everybody should have a choice. We have a choice to know our true origins. We have a right to know our true origins, and we have a choice to make which way we want to go with that. We have a right to know about what was hidden from us, because it's imploding in us anyway. We can all feel it, and we understand that it's very real, this energy, and it exists. So I'm moving forward. no matter what else goes on, that messy stuff is always going to be there. You know what I mean? You laugh, you cry, you get through it, and then you go better. You get better and better and better. And that's the goal for our next generations, because we are breaking generational cycles. That's very important, to break those generation cycles, to see that in your children, to understand that, your grandchildren will have, that hope and that wisdom in a world that's chaotic and is going every which way, that those ancient values are there, that what we believe in our consciousness, whether you call it Christ conscious or Buddha consciousness or source of all energy. There's many different ways to express it. Elohim, Andunai,
Sure.
source energy that we forgot, that was kept from us, because in the last 40 years, even communities have become segregated because everybody's afraid, to act like they used to. And that's what we're bringing back, because that's so important for all of us.
It really is important, Theresa.
Yes.
Theresa, do you have a website or?
At this point, everything I do now is pro bono. Pro bono, for whoever hears it.
Where can people find you if they want to know more about Theresa and what Theresa has to offer?
They could find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. My clients are very set now, like I'm not in that groove anymore like I used to be. I have my private clients. You can contact me through Facebook or Messenger. You could, on Instagram. I reached a different part right now. Right now, it's getting a message out. And that message, because it is needed and because it's like, you're a catalyst. I'm a catalyst, right? That's my goal right now. Everything else comes to me, I find, like I remember the days where like it was a struggle, right? But even when there are things that are hairy, it seems just to always work out. So that's how it's going at this point,
Well, we're definitely moving through things a lot faster.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share before we end the show?
No, thank you very much for having me. It was very nice speaking with you, to get to know another side of you,
Oh, I'm so glad that I got to speak with you. It was my honor.
It was my honor too, as well. It's my pleasure.
Have a great rest of the week. And let's do this again, okay? Reach out anytime you want to come back on.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out for me and having me and inviting me on. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.